Hey everyone, Chris here with one more filler video to fill out the year. Now, there isn't too much to go into, but there are a couple things which came up over the course of the year which I want to address, and of course I want to fill everyone in on how things are going to go down with videos over the next while. One of the first things I want to talk about, though, is Patreon support, as I noticed something kind of interesting over there. Presently, as I am recording this, there are 121 people supporting me with a paid pledge on Patreon. However, I also have metrics on everyone who has supported me over the stretch of time, as a grand total of 387 different people have had a Patreon pledge active with me at some point in time or another. If every person who once supported me and presently isn't were to come back with just a $1 per month pledge, that would equate to an additional $266 a month. I bring this up because the biggest reason people end their pledges with me is not because they've stopped watching my shows, but because their financial situations have changed. That's definitely something I understand, given just how little I myself have been able to survive off of. But I also understand the power of numbers. When I say every dollar makes a difference, I mean it. This is why I even have a $1 tier in the first place, while so many other people on Patreon set their lowest tiers to $5. If you don't feel your capacity to support me through Patreon would be meaningful, just throw that notion right out the window, because I appreciate every tiny bit of support you are all giving me, and I am encouraging every person who enjoys my content but is not presently a paid supporter on Patreon to please give that $1 tier a solid consideration. And if you want to follow through, just follow the link to my Patreon page found in the video description. Now, this kind of leads into another thing I've been asked about a couple times now is, what about YouTube memberships? Well, short answer, no. I will never be enabling YouTube memberships on my channel now or in the foreseeable future because of a simple fact. In a worst case scenario, about 2/3 of the money paid for a membership does not go to the creator. But over on Patreon, I'm part of their founders plan since I got in with Patreon very early. Because of that, Patreon only skims 5% off of what people pledge to me, and I lose about another 5% after all the payment processor and conversion fees are factored in. So I get about 90% of what people pledge to me on Patreon. YouTube memberships are flat out evil though, because the only fee they tell you about is the 30% cut YouTube takes right off the bat. Following that are what I like to call mystery fees, where YouTube claims certain amounts are deducted to account for country taxes, which they don't clarify. Then there's the payment processing fees, which, again, they don't clarify. And on top of that, you're sometimes faced with platform fees, such as if someone is making a membership purchase using the YouTube app on an iPhone. Well, that's another sizable chunk bitten out by Apple. Worst case scenario, if a person was pledging $10 a month to a creator through a YouTube membership, as little as $3 of that would be reaching the creator on the other end. The amount of money these massive corporations are stealing from people who just want to help support their favorite creators is downright deplorable. And yes, I'm aware the Apple thing also happens on Patreon, but I have my account configured to simply increase the cost of the pledge in that event, and I have instructions right at the top of my profile indicating how to circumvent Apple's nonsense. As such, I can happily confirm that out of the 121 people currently pledging support to me on Patreon, 0 people are using Patreon's iPhone app, meaning no one pledging support to me is giving Apple a dime. Anyways, let's move on to my game development progress, or seeming lack thereof. To put it simply, I greatly underestimated how much effort Project AB was going to take me. But then, is anyone surprised, really? The truth is, I am making progress, just not as fast as I thought I would, because I'm frequently having to problem solve for things I wasn't prepared for. And I've had to develop a lot of workarounds, learn a lot more shader stuff than I expected to need to know how to do, and so a lot of the progress I've made this year hasn't really been stuff I can showcase. Now, that said, I did manage to get one Patreon exclusive video out to demonstrate one of the core mechanics called side gloves, which are used to pull objects towards you and then subsequently grab them in your hands or float them in front of you to then drop elsewhere or fling forwards. The point is, Project AB is still on track. I'm just well behind my targets of where I wanted to be by this point. As I get more of the internal things figured out and I'm able to shift focus from internals to content, then the pace should start to pick up again. And lastly, let's talk videos. Well, technically, the only month I'm taking off from videos is December, but because Season 7 of ADG ended just a month prior, and I need this month as a break from the show to plan things out and get new assets ready, it means Season 8 of Ancient DOS Games will be premiering on Saturday, January 3rd, 2026. Until then, though, both No Nostalgia Retro Gaming and Bootleg Gaming will be proceeding through November as usual, with the last of those videos for the year being on Wednesday, December 3rd, at which point I will truly be on break from videos until 2026. With Bootleg Gaming, I've noticed the initial response was kind of lukewarm, though I feel we just had some relatively uninteresting games for the first couple videos, which is just bad luck really because none of us really knew what we were getting ourselves into here. For those of you who rapidly lost interest in BLG and stopped watching early in, I would say give week numbers 7, 8, 9, or 11 a watch and see if maybe you wrote it off too soon, as I feel those 4 weeks out of the 13 we've had so far are the most entertaining. I mean, don't forget, early Shovelware Diggers videos weren't all too enthralling either. And as for No Nostalgia Retro Gaming, over the past week, I held polls over on Patreon and for people watching the show in general to determine what the next system will be, and the results were pretty conclusive. With the start of Double Energy Week 101, we'll be focusing on the TurboGrafx 16, a system which I have indeed played a few games from, but not many, and in fact mostly CD titles, which are actually not going to be fair game because there's a whole litany of issues with acquiring and showcasing TGCD games, so we'll be focusing strictly on HuCard releases. But we'll also be allowing all regions, so that opens up the library of choices to a little over 300 if my math is correct. Just, if you're going to nominate a non-English game, try to pick one which doesn't require a strong grasp of the Japanese language to play, or has an English translation available. Like Japanese exclusive platformer or shooter? Great. Japanese exclusive RPG or strategy game? Might not be able to showcase that right without a translation. However, even though the results were conclusive, the Apple II was a very close second. Well, heck, it actually ended up tied with the TG16 over on Patreon. While in the more general poll, the TG16 held a strong lead, but the Apple II wasn't far behind. So once we've had a run of 50 weeks of the TG16, the next poll following will likely be to determine if we stick with the TG16, move on to the Apple II, or go back to the Commodore 64. But for now, if you're at the $8 tier or higher on Patreon, feel free to start sending in your TurboGrafx 16 game nominations. That way we'll be ready to switch gears come week 101. And as for Ancient DOS games, there's not going to be much of a change. New intro, new assets, new PC speaker sound cues, but the format will still be the same, with a new video every other Saturday with a pattern of 5 regular videos between each filler, with those regular videos mostly being reviews, with the occasional pro or mod video thrown in for good measure whenever I feel like making one. And that's it for the updates. Once again, thanks go out to all of you for continuing to watch and support my content, and I hope to deliver plenty more where that came from in the new year. Thanks for watching, everyone, and extra special thanks to all the folks shown here supporting me on Patreon. If you'd like to support the show directly and see your name here as well, head on over to patreon.com/KASICK.